Yeah, it was through a gentleman by the name of King Kong, or his
Yeah,
Instagram or TikTok name. I'm sure you know him.
great friend of mine. Yep.
Let's go get this money. In my first 5 weeks, I got 3 deals under contract. All of them ended up closing. And from there, I was hooked, dude. And I connected with this buyer. And he goes, "Do you know who this guy is?" And he sent me a picture of him and you. And I
Ha!
said, "I know exactly who that is." And he goes, "Yeah, he's the Wholesale King."
And we're back with another episode of To the Moon. And you guys know how this rolls. This is one of my most favorite community members, Mr. Shawn Castro. I've had the pleasure of hanging out with Shawn in person multiple times. This guy is a beast when it comes to his wholesaling business, a young man with a sharp mind and a just incredible reach in this industry and business. And you have been making major waves, bro. Like you are really starting to kill it out there. And it's actually not starting to. You've been doing this quite consistently for a little bit of time. We actually should have had Shawn on To the Moon many moons ago. But, sometimes you got to let things sort of marinate and percolate and really season up well so that when we get to the pot roast, it's juicy. And you guys are in for a juicy episode today because Shawn Castro is going to show you that it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past, and none of that matters. Your life is completely in your control if you do the right things, you think the right things, and you take action. And so I'd like to begin, Shawn, with first just who you are, right? Because I know you well, but there's people out there watching this right now who are like, man, this guy must be 16 years old. Like, who is he? What are you about? So tell us, rewind us back in time. Let's get into the time machine here. Tell us how you, tell us a little bit about yourself, but then how you even found this like crazy niche of wholesale real estate.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Jamil. Thank you for
Of
that
course.
awesome, warm intro. So I was actually just having this conversation with somebody else yesterday because I was actually at a meetup, and it cracks me up every time because the first time I've found out about wholesale or heard the word wholesale real estate was
Yep.
actually through TikTok. It was yeah, it was through a gentleman by the name of King Kong, or his
Yeah.
Instagram or TikTok name. I'm sure you know him.
Great friend of mine. Yep.
Let's go get this money.
Let's get that
So
money. Let's go get that money. Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
He was the first guy to kind of open the door for me and just open my eyes to it. And I just saw a whole bunch of his TikTok videos and his YouTube, and that's kind of what really opened the door. At that point, I was probably, I want to say 16 when I first got exposed to it. I didn't take immediate action. I was still so young. I was probably in my sophomore, junior year of high school, still kind of figuring things out. At that point, I knew I didn't want to go to college, so I had to come up with something soon. And so I was exposed to that, continuing going to school, continuing. I was working at Publix, which is a grocery store. I was always flipping, always doing something to make a dollar, flipping shoes. I used to sell candy. I would do pressure washing. Always a hustler, born hustler.
Yep.
So and then around in my towards the end of my junior year, I started. I actually joined Sub Two with my mom. We actually went half and half. It was she had done a lot of the research. I'll never forget. We were in the call. She had one of the guys call her, one of the sales reps, and I hadn't even heard of Pace or you or anybody at that point. And she's like, she got off of the call. She's like, "Do you want to join?" And I'm like, "What is it?" She's like, "It's a real estate coaching program." I'm like, "Do they teach wholesale?" And she's like, "I don't know. Let's call back." Called him back. He answered all of my questions, and I was kind of just like, I was like, "Screw it, let's do it." So that's kind of what opened the door. I joined a team. I was with the team for about 8 to 9 months. I got a lot of experience with a great group of guys there. Left them, and I was in a spot where it was a direct to seller team, and I was in a spot where I didn't have the resources to, do the hire the cold callers, get the data,
Right.
do all those
It's
things. And
expensive. It's very expensive to do that.
not only that, but it takes a couple months to really build the pipeline too, Jamel.
Yep.
So it's not like you can have enough money for 1 or 2, even 3 months. So I actually met another Astro student, Eric Diaz, at a real estate conference, a multifamily conference. We really clicked because we're the similar age. We were both kind of in the wholesale world at the time. and he not introduced me, but he kind of, I guess, pushed me a little bit to the kind of agent outreach MLS approach. And I was in a position where I didn't have any other choice because I had left that team.
Right.
And so at that point, I was, I think I was 18. In my first 5 weeks, I got 3 deals under contract. All of them ended up closing. And from there, I was hooked, dude. I was hooked from there.
So you, of course, I know that that people do wholesaling in the sub 2 community, and but it's mainly direct to seller is the strategy, right? Because that's Pace's superpower is direct to seller. And again, if you're going to direct to seller, you're going to have to buy a list. You're going to have to skip trace that list. You're probably working a 9 to 5, or maybe you're busy, and so you're going to need to hire virtual assistants to make those calls for you, and all of that starts to really add up, right?
Yeah.
Let's just ballpark it, Shawn. What do you think? Because you're going to need 3 months of lists, VAs, skip tracing, What is the typical run up for somebody to start doing business in that model? What would you say that would essentially cost?
At least a couple thousand a month. At the bare minimum, probably $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, bare minimum. Right. And so that's on a smaller scale too.
Yeah. So you get a small list, I don't know if that would cut it, because at $2,000, typically people get a list of about 10,000 names, right? And then they skip trace that. So there's $1,500 in data there, and if they got to hire a VA, that's going to be another $2,000 for the month there. And so that's going to be anywhere between $3,000, $4,000. So I think you nailed it there. You do that 3 months, you're in it now. 9 to $12,000, and now you're starting to get an ROI, right? And so. But it does take time, and you got to be diligent, and you got to continue following up and building up that process. And so let's compare, because you came in and I taught you a completely different approach, the direct to agent approach, and actually going and negotiating on MLS, on market MLS deals. It's one of the strategies of the many that I teach in wholesaling. Guys, understand this. When it comes to wholesaling, okay, nobody on this planet can touch me. It's a fact. I'm
sorry to cut you off. You want to know a funny story, Jamil? Yesterday, I was doing a little bit of buyer outreach on Facebook, and I connected with this buyer. And he goes, "Do you know who this guy is?" And he sent me a picture of him and you. And I said, "I know exactly who that is." And he goes, "Yeah, he's the Wholesale King."
Wow. That's a beautiful, thank you for sharing that with me. Actually, that made my day. And I'm known as that, folks, because at the end of the day, right, I've done so many deals, over 7,000 transactions in my life, and I've done deals with agents, I've done on market, I've done direct to seller, I've done door knocking, I've done it all, direct mail, everything that you can think of, I've done it, and I've done it well. But the one strategy that I can say is the most efficient, lucrative, and repeatable is working with agents and doing this agent model, right? And so your first 3 deals coming into the Astro community, you connect the dots, right? How much did you make on those 3 deals?
So the first one I closed, I made $12,000. I actually JV'd with John and Helena. So it was a 50-50. I made 12, they made 12. So it was a total of 24. The second one was 10,000. I actually connected the buyer on that one myself. So the first one was an off-market pocket listing from doing outreach. The second one was an MLS, and the third one was also an MLS. 4,500. JV'd it with John Gallan. So I made 45. He made 45. 9,000. So yeah.
So that was 12, 10. That's 22. 45. Gets you to what? $26,500 in your first couple of weeks in Astro, right? That must have just been completely mind blowing to you.
Yeah, considering the team that I was working with, I don't want to get too much into detail, but let's just say I made less than 5,000 for the 8 months that I was working with them.
Holy moly!
Yeah.
Wow. So big difference, right? So massive difference. You came in and you killed it. That is beautiful, but has it lasted, right? So tell us what's been going on since. Did you get a dry spell? Did it get better? What's been going on? I mean, I know the answer, but for the folks that are tuning in, what happened since?
Yeah, so since then, actually in between, I had went to the Mastermind, spoken with you, connected with a lot of great people in the community. I got set up on a much better, much more efficient CRM, AstroBlaster. Before I was doing everything manually, and that completely, changed the game for me in my business and made me 10x more effective. So it was actually probably right after I got on AstroBlaster. I did have a couple dry months for, I think it was 2 or 3 months. I was dry, and it got to a point where I was like, man, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent next month. It got like that, and so.
What'd you do with the $27,000? Did you blow it? Like, what was, how did you run out of money so fast that your rent was in danger?
Yeah, so I didn't blow it. I had got the ticket to the Mastermind. I had got a ticket to the Grant Cardone
10X
Growth Conference, which those are not
Yep.
cheap, and then hotel flights, all that stuff.
Got
And
it.
then actually, I took a chance and I actually moved out on my own here to Tampa, which is where I live and where I do deals. So at the time I was living at my parents' house, I said, hey, I didn't have any issues at home, but I said, if I really want to take this to the next level and get uncomfortable, this
Yep.
is what I'll have to do. So that's exactly what I did. And boy, did that make me uncomfortable. So I did that. I paid a couple months rent, moving expenses, food.
Yeah, it adds up.
It adds up. Exactly. So, yeah, I got to that point. I sat down and I was like, I need a deal. And I kind of, did the numbers backwards. I said, this is how many conversations I need to be having each day. This is how many offers. And so, long story short, for the month of April and February, I went crazy. I was contacting myself on my own over 1,200 agents a week between cold calling and texting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was leveraging the AstroBlaster, though, right? Because it was able to really, really increase and scale up the amount of outreach you did. Guys, if you haven't already looked at the AstroBlaster, there'll be a link in the description. You got to check this thing out. It maximizes your capacity to connect with agents. It's an incredible tool. Very inexpensive for what it actually returns, right? And so 1,200 agents a week. And what did that correlate to for you?
So it correlated to my biggest month ever, still to this day, which was in May. I did $52,000 or $53,000.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And what's it been like since consistently? What would you say your average month looks like now?
Yeah. So wrapping up the year here, I'm gonna wrap up just short of 150,000, like 140, 145, maybe. I got a couple stuff pending still. So when you average that out, it's about 10 to $11,000 a month. So I've had some in the beginning, I had a couple slow months. I had a couple months where I did, smaller deals. And then towards the end, which is when I started to get more consistent with the KPIs, I started bringing people on my team, which is towards the end of the month where we started, getting more consistent. So right now, where I'm at now, probably averaging like 10 to 15 a month.
Incredible. And this is for something that you learned about on TikTok. I mean, I just got to highlight that, guys, right? Like there's you can have whatever opinion you want about TikTok, right? I mean, I personally don't spend a lot of time on TikTok. It is geared and marketed to younger people. My daughter is obsessed with TikTok, right? And which I get, right? They're fun little videos and it's cool, but there's a lot of really interesting things to learn about on TikTok. And so you learn about wholesaling real estate from TikTok. You didn't go to college, but you make more money than people who go to college make, right? Because the average U.S. citizen who goes to college and comes out is at best earning $50,000 a year, and you're going to wind up just around $150,000 for the year. And how old are you, Shawn?
I just turned 20 about 2 weeks ago.
Guys, I mean, this to me is what is so special about what we're accomplishing here, right? Because you're a 20-year-old person. You could have gone and made the choice to go to college and had, put out $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 in your education. I don't know what that would have given to you. I mean, again, I went to college. It was a part of my journey and my life story that going to college was something I had to do to learn that that's not what I wanted to do. Right. And so, but a lot of people right now are looking at this whole concept of higher education and questioning whether or not it's an advisable move. Right. Because for the most part, you go to college, you meet people, which is absolutely true. Right. You're going to make friends. You're going to network, and your network and your social group is going to grow. The other side of that, though, is that a lot of people in that at that age group, right, are indulging in activities that may or may not be super healthy for you. And if you can't get yourself out of a lot of those activities, I've seen many people, become alcoholics during their university and college degree time, and that alcoholism continues to persist after the fact because they're never really able to get themselves out of that world. Or on the other side, you go to college, you get a degree, and you come out and you get a career, and that career in that from that chosen field is soul sucking, right? It's just like you are punching the clock 9 to 5, working for somebody else. You truly don't have any independence. You got to ask to go to the bathroom. You got to ask. It's just like being back in school again, right? Like you got to raise your hand. I want to take a day off today. You got to, whatever it is somebody is your master. That's the fact, right? And so you've got this young independence at 20 years old, making money that people, can get master's degrees for, PhDs. I mean, you probably make more than a lot of the attorneys that are out there in the world as well, right? So how does that feel, and what has that allowed you to do mentally, right? To in order to determine like what's next, because it must be pretty damn exciting to be 20 years old, making money like that, and having 2/3 of your life ahead of you.
Yeah, it is, it is really super exciting, especially right now because we're coming up on the end of the year, Q4. I took a lot of time to sit down, kind of evaluate how this year went and how I want to approach next year. And I'm just like, wow, this was my first full year, fully committed, on my own, building out my own team. And this is what I've done in year one. I can't even imagine what the future has to hold. So that's definitely super exciting. And then as far as your other points, the money is great. I definitely try not to let it get to my head. I try to just, put it away and not think like, oh, I can go buy a new car and go do this and go do that. So it's tempting at times. I did when I had that $50,000 month, I bought my mom a very nice gift. I bought her a watch. I bought my
Good
dad.
for you.
I bought my dad a
What
computer.
kind of watch you buy your mom?
I bought my mom a Rolex.
Good man, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, you didn't buy yourself a Rolex.
I'm still waiting.
see, this is what I'm talking about there, right? Like that's what makes the quality of your character just something, different, because, mom is who helped you, right? She got you into sub 2 right out the gate. You then find your way to Astro, and, life hockey sticks for you. What happened with mom? Is she still in sub 2? Is she still doing real estate? What, is she now just saying, oh, nah, it's all good, my kids got me? Like, what's
she's still in sub 2. She actually works for Pulte, the builder. So she's been in real estate ever since I was younger. She didn't have that much experience in the real estate field, but she's been my biggest supporter. She was a big advocate for college, and I just sat down with her. I was like, hey, like, that's just not the route I want to take. And that was really heartbreaking for her, but she knew the discipline, the drive, the determination I had, and she's just been my biggest supporter ever since. So I really owe a lot to her.
Man, I'm sure your mom's going to be watching this episode, and I bet you there's going to be a tear in her eye when she gets to see the impact and really understands just how much she means to you. And bro, for me, right, I'm a mama's boy, and I don't know if you've picked up on that, but the women in my life are the reason I'm here, right? My mother is extremely she independent and strong, but she had and has this attitude, this positive, grateful attitude that she instilled in my sister and I, to make sure that we grew up unentitled, that we were unified as siblings, that we always had integrity and honor in our hearts, and that we moved with class, and that we did things in ways that would always leave people better than we found them, right? And that to me is just one of the most quality gifts that anybody can give you is the gift of example, right? And she's obviously set an incredible example on you because of look at how you're turning out, right? And so mom, if you're watching this, which I know you are, wear that Rolex proud, and understand that you raised just one of the most quality human beings. And Shawn is going to continue to take the world by storm because, again, he's only 20 years old. and there's so much runway ahead of you, right? And so I'd like to kind of find out, what's the plan, bro? Like, what are you looking to do next?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I do plan on kind of taking this wholesaling route, just growing what I have right now. So right now I have a team. It's 6 of us, and I don't plan on bringing on really any more people for a little while. I just really want to pour into my team, teach them, take them all under my wing. Work together all towards a common goal. Because I know when you're building a team and you're a leader, that team culture and really pouring into every single one of them is just super important. So I just really want to focus on that for next year, and just tightening up some systems, processes, KPIs. I have a couple part-time people on my team. I'd like to, bring them on full-time, put them on a base. So those are some of the goals that I have for next year.
It's a pretty incredible feat to be a 20-year-old business owner who is supporting families and writing checks and keeping food on the table for people. How does
Yeah.
that feel for you, man? Is it ever surreal? Do you think to yourself, man, I'm 20 and I got payroll?
Yeah, it hit me the other day when I was doing payroll, actually. It's a great feeling. It really is. I feel super blessed, and super grateful to be in a position to, where I am fortunate enough to be able to provide for families. One of my employees, I just bought him a brand new computer because of how much he's killed it. And the gratitude and the thankfulness that he's been showing to me was just unbelievable. And just me being in a position to be able to do that, it makes me super happy, and it just makes all the work that I'm putting into this business, it just makes it so much more worth it. And just that's what really wakes me up every morning.
Yeah, it's a beautiful feeling to live in a world where you are so important, and where what you're doing is having such a real impact in people's lives, and knowing that families are better because of you, and knowing that the people that are on your team, all of them are going to be heading and stepping towards greater and greater financial freedom and opportunity, and you're teaching them this, and it's you at 20 years old, right? That is just a phenomenal, but b, look at the ripple effect of this, because what you're going to install in other people's brains and what you're going to teach them is going to trickle down into those children that they are raising, and those children that they're raising are going to have minds that are liberated from the bondage of old ideas, of old ways of doing things. And
Yeah.
it's people like you that are shifting the paradigm of what it means to grow up in this country,
Yeah.
what it means to live the American dream and to have financial freedom and have success. It's no longer, 2.5 kids and a white picket fence and a 30-year mortgage, right? Like, times have changed. We are in a different world. And it's time, folks, that we all evolve with where things are right now. We're not going to solve the problems of the future or even the problems of today with the way that we were thinking in the past. It's just not appropriate, and it's not possible. We have to step it up, and we have to change, and we have to evolve. So, again, congratulations for you. Congratulations to your mom. Congratulations for your team. All of these people are being blessed and supported by this incredible mind and person that you're becoming and that you are. There are people right now that are probably sitting in some situation in their life, maybe dark, maybe broke, maybe young, right? Someone that's watching this on YouTube, or even maybe a clip of it on TikTok, if that's where this ends up. But there's somebody out there right now who is thinking to themselves, what do I do? How am I going to make an impact in this world? How do I make sure that I don't live an average life? What advice do you have for them?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is making that decision and making that change within yourself. I knew that, I didn't want to live an average life. I knew that I didn't want to go to college, get debt, go to a 9 to 5. I knew that that wasn't the plan that God had for me. And so I kind of looked at my goals and looked at where some of the people were that I wanted to be. And I looked at kind of the path that they took and the work that they did. And I knew what it took. Success is not easy, and it's a long journey. It's a fun journey. It has its ups and its downs. And so I knew that, I had to pick something. In this case, for me, it was wholesale.
Yes.
That's just going to be my stepping stone for right now to get into the bigger and better things that, whatever God in the future has in store for me. So
Absolutely. And, you know, again, wholesale is the fuel to begin and actually create a real estate business, right? And so, you know, as you continue to grow and, you know, you start to buy rentals and you start to, you know, start thinking about how do I save money on taxes? Because you make 150 grand a year, the IRS is going to want their pound of flesh, right? And so understanding depreciation and really getting yourself into opportunities that are going to cash flow and help set yourself up so that in maybe 10 or 15 years, Shawn doesn't necessarily have to continue, you know, doing any of it, right? And for
Right.
me, you know, looking at my life right now, I just left my office not too long ago, and you know, there's you know a couple hundred people in there buzzing around doing wholesale deals, and I'm not involved in any of them,
Yeah.
you know.
That's
But
really
I
cool.
get to get paid on all of them. And
Yeah.
that to me is just the power of being a business owner and the power of building something that's lasting, that has that will provide a financial legacy for myself, and to be
Yeah.
able to have been a part of your journey and doing the same for you is one of the greatest honors of my life. So thank you so much, Shawn, for, you know, being the guy you are, for coming to the table and kicking butt and always, always, always showing up for yourself and for other people. There are folks right now that are thinking, I need to work with this guy. I want to do business with Shawn. I know you primarily work in Florida. So if you guys are doing business in Florida, Tampa, Orlando, you know, any of these areas, even Miami, I imagine, Shawn can help you anywhere, right? So Shawn, how can people find you, reach out to you, do business with you?
Yeah. So the best way to reach out to me would, honestly, I'd probably check my social media more than like my messages. So you can just, my Instagram is Shawn the Closer. You can DM me on there. On Facebook, it's just Shawn Castro. You know, like Jamil said, I'm primarily working in Florida, Tampa, and kind of that little niche is like my sweet spot. That's where I live. That's where I have a lot of my connections. I'm also expanding into the Bradenton, Sarasota area. So anything you guys need there, more than happy to help for sure.
My man. Shawn, always a pleasure to hang out and talk to you. Guys, if you haven't already, like this video and subscribe to this channel. The only way that you're going to continue learning is by being notified when these things come out. And believe me, you could watch anybody else out there, but when it comes to wholesaling, when it comes to the money printing machine of wholesale real estate, there is no one better to listen to than me. I'm sorry, I know that's a little arrogant to say, but it's a fact. So, from Shawn and I, we want to see you guys on the moon. Until next time, we're out.